Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. Malina wakes up disoriented in the trunk of a speeding car and discovers to her horror that she is missing more than her memory. With her mobile phone as the only link to the outside world, she wages a desperate battle for survival. Yes, folks, this is my raw reaction review for Trunk Locked In. To start things off, I just want to thank the folks over at Amazon Prime for sending me a copy of this film to check out early so I could get this review out to you guys. Yes, Trunk Locked In. This is an interesting one for sure. I really have an affinity for bottle films. I think that every few years we get one that's really, really solid. One that sticks out in my mind from just a couple years back was Lock, a very similar style film to this, as opposed to Tom Hardy not being stuck in a trunk, but he is in a car the entire film. So I was pretty intrigued by this concept. I'm looking at this film and I'm thinking, this is a real challenge. When you have your actress, your main actor, just kind of stuck in one place, a confined space, and you can tell an entire hour 30 story around it, like that is a pretty huge undertaking. And if you can pull it off, normally it's a pretty interesting and exciting film. So this flick comes all the way over from Germany and stars Sina Martins and is directed by Mark Scheister. I'm hoping I'm getting your last names correct there, but it is again a very contained thriller. This does in fact take damn near almost entirely inside of a trunk of a car, and it does have a really good way of building some tension when you have your main actress put in that situation. The dialogue is very quick. It's very like to the point. Like we understand the gravitas of the situation, and in that sense, I don't think that the movie really necessarily drags in a lot of spots. But I did find myself getting to probably about the last, 15 minutes of this movie, kind of hoping for there to be a little bit more to this. I was hoping for kind of some big reveals, maybe like a big third act to kind of really push this thing above the bar of just hitting par. And unfortunately for me, I thought that this just ended in a very kind of cookie cutter way. I could have probably predicted how this was going to go. In fact, I did predict how this was going to go as we were teeing up the final moments of this film. And, for a thriller, you definitely want, it doesn't always have to be a twist, but you want that gut punch. You want something that is, like I said, going to send you over the edge and really keep you sitting here saying, wow, that was something impressive. I was excited to talk about this film. And I just didn't get there with Trunk. And that's not to disparage any of the acting in the film. I think that everybody across the board does a really serviceable job. Granted, there is that language barrier there, and so I am reading subtitles, but the delivery and the intensity in the voice is there. And I really think that Sina Martin does a great job of carrying this film on her shoulders. I think that, it's a very, very big ask to have an actress or actor stuck in one small contained space and having to constantly, keep the audience engaged. And I will say again, I was pretty engaged up until those final few moments. Now, what really I think keeps you engaged as well is the fact that the film is shot beautifully. They really, really make use of their space. They have a lot of really interesting uses for her cell phone. There's like a GoPro cam that they're kind of using to give you some backstory. And I liked all of that. I thought that it was unique. And there's definitely some very, very interesting camera techniques, again, towards that third act. The contents of that third act, again, isn't the most impressive thing in the world, but I do have to say that it was shot pretty well, and it was very convincing. Along with that, you got really interesting cinematography. They're using a lot of these dark blues and yellows to really simulate kind of the grimy, gross nature of just the situation that the character is in. You're using a lot of trunk lights, and this is an older car, so you have a lot of that orangish hue to the lights, and it's not like a modern car with LEDs. And it does add some very interesting kind of tones to it. um, I will say that there are moments when the person is kind of digging through parts of this trunk trying to find ways to get out, and you're just kind of sitting there thinking there really isn't a reason for there to be this many compartments, this many things that they didn't find right away. It just kind of gets to that point where you're starting to realize, okay, this is definitely not trying to be the most grounded film in the bunch. It is still trying to be entertaining. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing. I mean, the movie has to be entertaining, right? I just think that for some viewers, it may just come off as being a bit too convenient in a few places, that they would just find this, or that this thing would come up so that way they could kind of move the plot forward. And I think maybe if they just would have again spent a little bit of time outside of the trunk, or maybe given us some kind of another person to latch onto to kind of help build this mystery, I think that you could have had ratcheted that intensity up a little bit more. All in all, where do I sit with Trunk locked in? I'm not upset that I saw this. I definitely thought that it was a decent watch. It's nothing that I can really sit here and say is probably going to make my top 10 of the year, but I'm not disappointed that I sat down and watched this. And the fact that it is going to be on Amazon Prime, it's only about 95 minutes and it is subtitled. So you can just throw this on, sit down, and kind of just let the film take you over. I could see this being something that's a bit more impactful for people who, aren't used to this kind of this filmmaking, who maybe don't come over this concept as often as I have in the past, and maybe it will affect them a little bit more than it hit me. But overall, I am going to give this, a recommend. I think that it's worth a watch. It definitely is hitting those points that it's setting out to hit. And really, I just think that as I'm sitting here thinking of this critically, the issues that I have with it, they're not game breaking. They're not going to sit here and ruin your time. It's just one of those things where when you sit down and you watch as many horror or thriller films as me, you're always kind of looking for that next step. And this is just right on par. This just runs with the pack of a lot of these contained thrillers that we get. And if you're looking for something like that, then that's fine. But don't expect this movie to be the next great talked about thriller like a Panic Room or something like that. It's not going to hit that mark at all. Yeah, guys, this is going to be available to Prime Video subscribers on January 26th. So definitely check it out if you're interested, if you like thrillers, and let me know what you thought. Am I being a little too harsh on this? Is this something that is really impressive by your standards? Or are you feeling about the same as I am and thinking, that was fun, but it really just needed a little bit more punch to make it something memorable? But other than that, guys, we got a lot of great stuff on the channel. Lots of fun videos on the way. More reviews on the way. I mean, I've got one in the bag here that I cannot wait to talk about. This is, again, one of those really, really weird and strange ones that just comes across our desk every once in a while. And God, it is impressive. So I'll get that review to you guys here in a few days. But yeah, let me know what you thought of Trunk. And yeah, that's going to wrap it up here for me. So until next time, I am Dylan Newell. And remember, stay scared.